Good morning and welcome to the 12th Danube Participation Day here in Sarajevo. My name is Adla Dizdar Hodžić and I will be your moderator for today. As an official side event of the 14th Annual Forum of the EU Strategy for the Danube region, this year's Danube Participation Day places the spotlight on local voices. Under the theme, Local Voices, European Future, the crucial role of communities in shaping EU policy and driving enlargement. The emphasis of the conference is on how citizens, local organizations and municipalities can contribute to building a more inclusive and sustainable European Union. Instead of the European integration process regarded sometimes abstract and distant, the aim is to show that integration begins in local communities, through trust, ideas, projects, and initiatives that come from lower levels of government. That's why it is a pleasure to see so many local leaders, civil society representatives, youth activists, and experts joining us. Before we start, a few housekeeping notes. So the working language is English. There will be a Q&A session after each panel, so you will soon receive an instruction from my colleagues. And to make sure we have enough time for every part of today's program, we kindly ask everyone to keep an eye on the schedule and help us stay on the track. The 12th Danube Participation Day is organized by Priority Area 10 of the EU Danube Strategy and the Danube Civil Society Forum in cooperation with Local Democracy Agency Mostar and with the support and close coordination of the EUSDR Presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Directorate for European Integration. Therefore, I would like to invite Midhat Džemić from the Directorate for European Integration, EUSDR Presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, to join us here for the welcome address.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see so many participants at this event. We in BIH do not witness very frequently a lot of civil society when we invite them. So now Foster Europe and the PA10 succeeded. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and dear colleagues, it is a great honor for me to welcome you on behalf of Bosnia and Herzegovinian EUSDR Presidency this morning to the 12th Danube Participation Day here in city of Sarajevo on the November 4th, 2025, an event held under the auspices of the 14th Forum of the EU Strategy for the Danube region and convened under the name Local Voices, European Future, the crucial role of communities in shaping EU policy and driving enlargement. Enlargement was set as is set as a priority of our presidency. So throughout this forum, enlargement will be mentioned almost at each session. In particular, by linking local actors to the broader enlargement agenda of the European Union, we articulate a vision where local engagement is not ancillary but central, where shaping EU policy is not done only in Brussels or capital cities, but through partnership rooted in communities, through listening and learning. Why do local communities matter so much when it comes to European policy and enlargement? Let me underline the three key reasons. Proximity to citizens and legitimacy. Local authorities and community organizations are closest to people's everyday lives. They hear the needs, the concerns, aspirations of citizens, whether this respect to housing, public services, environment, youth engagement, or cross-border cooperation. When policy is built upon this proximity, it gains legitimacy, relevance, and durability. Second, implementation and translation into action. Policies crafted at the EU level and through macro-regional strategies must ultimately be implemented on the ground. Municipalities, local public administrations, civil society groups translate those policies into concrete projects, initiatives, services. Without strong local capacity, the gap between policy and delivery widens. Supporting local capacities thus becomes essential. And third, innovation, experimentation, and peer learning. Local communities are often the laboratories of Europe. They pilot novel approaches, engage citizens in participatory processes, mine cross-border linkages, and share practices. Through events like this one, we can bring local innovations into the policy conversation and ensure they are scaled or adapted elsewhere. When we speak of enlargement, the accession of new members or the deepening of cooperation with candidate countries, local communities play a dual role. On one hand, in candidate countries and potential candidates, municipalities, local civil society, and citizens provide the boots on the ground for democratic governance, transparency, civic participation, accountability, all core values of European Union. They help ensure that enlargement is not just about formal treaties, but about lived reality, about inclusive societies, open governance, active citizenship. On the other hand, in existing member states and regions of the Danube Basin, local actors provide solidarity, exchange, and membership. The new mentorship, municipalities can support those in accession process countries. Civil society networks can foster cross-border cooperation, and communities can stand together and in envisioning of European future built on shared values. In this way, enlargement is not a one-way transfer, but a shared journey, and local communities are its very heart. What we aim to achieve today, this morning we launch our opening session, but the true work begins throughout the day in our panel discussions, bridging the gap, integrating local bottom-up initiatives into EU enlargement agenda, in the World Cafe sessions, which bring together civil society, municipalities and youth in interactive dialogue in the Danube Participation, Agora, where initiatives and ideas will be shared. Our ambition is to emerge from this gathering with fresh insights into new local voices can more strongly share policy making and enlargement processes. Concrete examples of good practice from across the Danube region, networks of actors committed to taking the dialogue forward, and actionable ideas to strengthen local capacities, foster participation, and align community initiatives with EU-level framework. Let me end with a call to you, local leaders, civil society activists, youth, delegates, academics and policymakers. I invite you to fully seize this opportunity. Speak up, share your stories, challenge assumptions, build bridges, because the future of the Europe is not determined solely by high-level decisions. It is shaped in town halls and local gates, cafes, on the banks of the Danube, and cross-border initiatives by grassroots engagement as much as by treaties. In closing, thank you for being part of this event. Together, in this beautiful city of Sarajevo and across the Danube region. I look forward to a rich day of discussion, learning, and inspiration. Thank you.
Thanks to Mr. Džemić. And now I'm honored to welcome Stefan August Lütgenau from the Danube Civil Society Forum and Foster Europe to share his welcome address.
Adla, thank you very much. Midhat, thank you very much for the call. I think you hit the nail. I'm happy to welcome you to the 12th Danube Participation Day. This is the first dozen, yeah? And it's the 14th. We try to catch up, but we haven't found a way to how to do it, but we're working on it. So welcome. Thank you to all that make this possible. Next to those who are visible, of course, LDA Mostar was building the bridge to civil society in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This was very important. Thank you for the advice. Thank you for the support. And I wish us a very fruitful debate today. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Stefan. And to continue our opening session, please welcome Claudia Singer-Smith, a coordinator for institutional capacities and cooperation, that is priority area 10 to the EU Danube strategy and the city of Vienna.
Yep, all good things are three. So here I am. And dear fellow participants, I would like to extend also a warm welcome from my side to this 12th Danube Participation Day with this very catchy title, Local Voices, European Future. And then not so catchy maybe, the crucial role of communities in shaping EU policy and driving enlargement, but nevertheless an important part of this title. Because EU accession is strongly connected usually with national reforms in candidate countries, but national reforms need to be translated into concrete and often local actions. So this also means that these actions need to be supported and carried by local communities. So this is also why we think it is important to talk about them, but also local communities, stakeholders like civil society organizations, municipalities, regions, are not only at the receiving end, but can be important partners for prosperity, stability, and innovation. So in this spirit, I would like to once again welcome all our esteemed speakers that we will hear today, also our dialogue facilitators at the World Coffee sessions, and our speakers who are our very, very important and esteemed experts today. So today we come together also to explore questions such as how can local communities fulfill their role of, as drivers of change? What do they need to thrive? And what also maybe can we learn from stakeholders from the EU member states and vice versa? So once again, I'm looking very much forward to going on this journey with all of you. And I wish us all a very exciting, informative, and enjoyable trip. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. And that concludes our opening session. Thanks to all of our speakers. Now, before moving to the first panel, I'll hand over the stage to my colleague Andreea to guide you through the Slido platform. It's a platform we will be using afterwards for the Q&A session. Andreea, here you go.
Thank you, Alda, and also a very warm welcome from my side. It's so nice to see all of you here today, and so many of you. This is amazing. Now, to kind of warm the mood even more, I would like to go ahead and dive right into Slido. So please take your phones out and go scan the QR code and go to the side. The Slido will also be used for the Q&A sessions throughout for the panel and for the last discussion round. So on each of the slides that are coming up, you will find the QR code and the hashtag, and there you can post your questions. So everyone is already on the platform. Do you see a blank page? Because this is good. Okay. I still see some phones up. It's okay, take your time. Yeah. Okay, I see phones coming down. Perfect. Let's move on to the first question, which is, how are you feeling this morning? You can use emojis. You can share like the coffee emojis, how many coffees you had. I had 3 by now. Oh, I see a lot of sleepy emojis. No, you need the 4th coffee. Curious, motivated. Oh, this is great. We have the autumn leaves. Yes. It's very cute. Oh, I see someone had some rakia yesterday. It's okay, Bosnian coffee will fix it. All right. Well, I see motivated and curious as the main keywords today, which is very, very good to see. Now, moving on to the next question. You can take your time. But if you could choose a song to be your theme, what would that song be? Imagine. La lambada. It is a very beautiful day. Thank you for choosing that song. I see we have a lot of Bon Jovi fans. It's good. I like him as well. Okay, I see someone posting the song My Country is most famous for. That's Dragostea Dintei. All right. I think we've seen a lot of tracks. Maybe I can put this in a playlist and entitle it the Danube Participation Day playlist, so you can all enjoy all of these beautiful songs. But now we can move on to the next one, which is, what country are you from? Again, the use of emoji and flag emoji is also very encouraged because it looks really good in pictures. Okay, lots of people from Ukraine. Someone from Mozambique. Of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina representing.
It's like a Eurovision contest, song contest.
We have Italy, we have from Slovakia. I see representation from all over the Danube regions. This is great. We have someone from the United States as well. From Italy, yes. And of course from Austria. Don't never forget. All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question. What type of organization do you represent? This is the multiple choice question, so we should finish it fast. A majority of NGOs represented. That's good. All right. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to, I think this is the last question. What session do you look forward to the most today? And you can select more than one option. So yeah, everyone on the networking lunch. We also look forward to the interactive World Cafe session. It's going to be a great opportunity to discuss so many topics today. Are we still voting? Is anyone still voting? No. Okay, then I think we are done. Then thank you very much for participating and thank you very much for your answers. And now I will give the floor back to Adla.
At one moment, I felt like we were on some Eurovision Song Contest with the names of the countries and all of the songs. Thank you, Andreea. So it's time to get started, to start working, to dive into our panel. Reflecting the past for a brighter future, a topic on turning experience into progress, and past experiences helping shape a more participatory and community-driven path. I will introduce each panelist briefly and ask them to come to the stage. Mojca Krisper Figueroa, a team leader in the cooperation section in the EU delegation to Bosnia and Herzegovina. You can welcome her.
You have to help me. I didn't expect such a high cut. Wait, anywhere? Anywhere. Thank you.
Johan Magnusson, a team leader and senior expert at the Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy, REGIO, at the European Commission. Aida Daguda, a director at Center for Civil Society Promotion. And Darko Mrvaljević, project manager for the Green Agenda EU officer at Network of Associations of Local Authorities of Southeast Europe. Good morning to each one of you, and thank you for being here with us today. I will start with the representative of the EU delegation. Although EU accession is negotiated at the national level, the implementation of reforms and policies must occur across all levels of administration. In your view, what role should civil society organizations and local communities play in the accession process?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on this panel. It's a great honor and pleasure. There we go. Yes, it's true. Most of the time, as it was also mentioned in the opening speeches, the negotiating framework and negotiation process takes place at national level. But of course, this is something that shouldn't exclude civil society or municipalities. In fact, it's a prerequisite to include them in this process. In terms of Bosnia and Herzegovina, we've started some consultations when it comes to stabilization and association agreement, with getting inputs for our committees, as well as the Commission regularly uses shadow reports of the civil society organizations, which are particularly important to foresee the progress of the country towards its EU path. But I'll try and speak general, because I see there's so many participants from all over the region, from different neighboring countries. So, and each country is at a different stage of European integration process. So I'll try and be quite wide in this presentation. So as I mentioned, it's a must to include civil society and municipalities. Each play a specific role, I would say. Civil society are watchdogs and for the reforms, and in this respect, they should enable the environment for the governments to know the benchmarks, where to get, how to reach the standards of European Union in order to have a smoother integration. But not only, I would say civil society is also enables the expertise, which is much needed as a third sector, different perspective. When it comes to municipalities, we're aware that around 75% of acquis communautaire, so EU legislation, is implemented at the municipal level, which means that really they will be burdened by this new legislation and responsible for it. So they should have a key role to play in terms of voicing themselves what is possible and what is not possible already in the pre-accession period, rather than entering the EU and then having difficulties implementing, for instance, especially environmental acquis, with wastewater treatments not being built, investments not being put into place. And then finally, I don't want to take too long, but I just want to give example, because we're talking about the Danube strategy, we're talking about cohesion funds, structural funds, we're talking about also Interreg and cross-border cooperation programs. I want to say that CSOs and municipalities, when it comes to specifically Chapter 22, cohesion policy and structural funds, are those who should feed into the strategies of their countries. And we expect that this will still be much more needed, also potentially with the new MFF, so multi-annual financial perspective. So I can say a few words later if there's interest, but nevertheless, not only country strategies, but also regional strategies, as they are really at the grassroots level and know what is needed. And finally, we will have a big project support, which is similar to what's been done in other previous candidate countries and new member states on EU cohesion policy, whereby the role of civil society and municipalities working together with respective, for instance, here, Directorate for European Integration and Department for Economic Planning should really work together with them in order to perceive strategies and future priority financing for the future. Thank you.
The microphone, sorry. Now I'll go to Mr. Magnusson. In its recent conclusions on the fifth report of the implementation of EU macro-regional strategies, the European Council emphasizes the value of MRS as a platform enabling candidate and neighboring countries to collaborate on equal terms with the EU member states. In your view, what are the tangible benefits of macro-regional strategies for EU enlargement? More broadly, how can macro-regional strategies and cohesion policy funding contribute to strengthening the local communities?
Well, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I hope you can hear me properly now here, even if the microphone is a little bit farther away. Do like that. Yeah, first of all, very many thanks for inviting me here today. I'm very happy to see so many people from across the civil society sector in the Danube region. Obviously, many of you come from our host country here, Bosnia and Herzegovina, but there are also many people from across the Danube region. We could see that when we looked at the Slido presentation. So that's a very, very encouraging sign, I think, to see this engagement. This is, I think, the third time that I have the privilege and honor to speak at the Participation Day here in the Danube strategy. So it gives us strength, I think, to really to go on and work a lot together with you in order to also use the Danube strategy as a tool for working together and for creating a better and stronger Danube region. Now, just before I go into the specific question, just a few words about why it is so important that we have you here, and even more important, that you are properly engaged in the work we are doing. And I would like to echo very much my colleague from the EU delegation and Mr. Džemić in his opening speech, because my points are follow very well to what they already have said. We consider from the European Union, from the European Commission, that civil society is an inherent part of a modern democratic state, and civil society organizations play a very, very crucial role in the functioning of a country, from representing marginalized voices to influencing governance at different levels. So it's really, we really see this as a vibrant and resilient, let's say, force which can provide the backbone of any country's development, and as a powerful voice of its citizens, as a link, as we also heard here now, from the citizens, from the local level to the EU level and all the other levels that are involved in this process. And we also consider that in the context of EU enlargement, because that is the, let's face it, that is the key topic of the annual forum here in Bosnia and Herzegovina today, we are absolutely convinced that civil society is not a stakeholder, just a stakeholder, but a driving force that sets in motion a democratic transformation, social inclusion, and sustainable development. And let me use a little, it's a very, very small word, but it's a very important word, about trust. Because I think that in working together with you and bringing you properly into the process, we can also foster trust. And that is an absolute prerequisite in order to succeed in this process. And let me also take another example before I go into trying to reply to your question. It's very important that we, from the side of the European Commission, come out to you and speak to you. I come from a country outside the Danube region. I come from Sweden, and I have a house in the area, in the local area in southeast Sweden, where we come from. And we have also civil society organizations there. We have the local Heritage Association, and a neighbor of mine is the president in that association. So I always take the opportunity to meet their annual meeting. We do that in the parish house in our village. And then we can have a very nice discussion with the local people there, my neighbors and their neighbors, about how we work in Brussels. And I think it is this kind of connection which is so important, and that we work together and that we connect together. And I believe that that's a way to foster trust. So that is why your engagement is so important. And we can also see this in the work we are doing. I come from a part of the European Commission where we work with cooperation. We work with Interreg programs. We have quite many of them. I'm sure you are aware of this. We have transnational Interreg programs. The Danube region program is very important for the Danube strategy, but we also have a number of cross-border programs. And Bosnia and Herzegovina is participating in many of these programs. And we can see there also that civil society is very active here. And let me also mention another thing, because we look at EU enlargement, when the countries become part of EU, you will also have the opportunity to work with local development. I'm looking at programs we are running in other parts of the European Commission, the leader programs, for example, and the community-led local development, which I think is a very, very useful approach for you in this context. Now, let me move to the question and the report we made and the council conclusions. I strongly believe that there is a very important place for civil society in the governance of the macro-regional strategies. We could see when we assessed the development of the 4 macro-regional strategies when we drafted this report, that civil society is engaged. What we can see is that it looks a little bit different in different macro-regional strategies and from country to country, which also reflects, obviously, the situation that let's say, the administrative setup is a little bit different. And I think I dare to say even the traditions and cultures are a little bit different. And that is something that we obviously have to accept. But nevertheless, this being said, one of the points that we raised in our report that is then also strongly supported by the Council is that we want to see more civil society engagement in these strategies. I belong to those who take a positive approach to this. I can see that a lot of things are happening out there, but there is nothing that is good that cannot be better. And as I said, I also know very well that the situation differs from country to country. So that is what we have to work with. But one thing I want to say, and there's a very, very clear message from our side in DG REGIO, European Commission, is that we are following these issues very carefully, and we will do everything from our side to help and support you in this work so that we can have a proper stakeholder representation. Because as you know, cohesion policy, that's what I represent. For us, one of the key principles is partnership, that we work in partnership on different administrative levels and on the different sectors, public, private, civil society, business, academia. And before I stop, I want to say one more thing. We had last year in another macro-regional strategy, not so very far away from you, the Baltic Sea strategy, their annual forum in Visby, Gotland, Sweden last year. We had a session a bit similar to this, and there we focused specifically on what we call underrepresented groups. So civil society, local development, local authorities, academia, but also business and their clusters, business organizations. And we wanted to focus specifically on how we can better involve these which are still, we can see, underrepresented groups. And youth was also mentioned here. We also brought to bring in young people in the governance of these strategies. So we are following this. This is a priority, and but we have to work together in order to get it to function.
Thank you. Okay. Driving force, that's what Mr. Magnusson said about civil society organizations. So let's hear from someone who is there at the core, at the ground. Aida Daguda from Center for Civil Society Promotion. I would like to know why is it important for civil society organizations to actively engage in the EU accession process? And from your perspective, what are the key capacity gaps that prevent the organizations from participating, at least in a meaningful, in an impactful way?
Okay, yeah, I will try to squeeze many things that I think about this topic into a short period. First of all, I believe that all of you expect something that we have heard so many times as an answer to this question, something like Civil society organizations play a critical role in the EU accession process, especially in the Western Balkans, where democratic institutions and public trust are still developing. I mean, that's nothing new. And if you ask what's wrong with that sentence, I can say nothing's wrong. We really believe that. But this sentence is just not true. Civil society organizations are not key actors or critical actors in EU accession process. Rather, we are marginalized and sometimes even excluded from the process of European integrations. And I speak across the region, of course, in different aspects. But of course, it shouldn't be like that. Civil society organizations are special. We know much better than anybody else needs of our local communities. We speak language of common people. And also, sometimes we ask some uncomfortable questions and amplify voices that are often ignored. But yes, of course, we know that European accession needs experts and diplomats and politicians, but desperately also needs civil society to be involved, because we are watchdogs, storytellers, bridge builders. You know, that's without this seasoning, the whole meal of European integration is not tasty. But why? If this is the truth, why we are struggling from year to year, I'm even tired anymore repeating the same things, why we are struggling with involving civil society in European integration processes. So now I would like to switch to talk about interests, you know, not about values. Unfortunately, interests rule the world, although sometimes somebody tried to, you know, tell us, oh no, it's values, you know, European values, Western values, our values, Bosnian values. But rather, let's be honest, it's interests. So now I want just shortly to go through the main interest of government and even EU and civil society organization, why not to be involved in EU integration process. For the government, there are some common reasons. First of all, control over the narrative. They don't like, of course, criticism, especially sensitive areas as human rights, minority protection. Then they are avoiding accountability. They have different political interests. They fear of opposition mobilization because of work of civil society. And especially relevant for our region is weak democratic culture. In countries that with fragile democratic institutions like our region, government often see, unfortunately, civil society as a threat rather than partners. And that's very, very, that's even confirmed in recent research of Balkan Civil Society Development Network and some other researches. So that leads to limited consultation and even active suppression of critical voices. And last but not least, for government is lack of capacity or will, because governments simply don't have enough capacity to understand how to involve and why to involve civil society in European integrations. Also, there is a lack of institutional mechanisms for participation. We all know for Serbia, they are, for me, it's really good example of organized civil society through EU Convent platform, where more than 850 organizations participate in the process. Also, Montenegro is a good example, but in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we don't have any mechanism for involvement of civil society, kind of systematic mechanism. And of course, there's already bureaucratic inertia and resistance to change. I mean, simply easier without civil society than with us. As for European Union and civil society organization, we all know that European Union is officially one of the strongest advocates for inclusion of civil society in the process, and we appreciate that. But there are some situations where European institutions themselves fall short in meaningfully involving CSOs. So why? So a few reasons. They preference government-to-government dialogue. Sometimes it's even easier for them, and they often prioritize state actors in negotiations than bureaucratic and technical barriers, because it's very technical, and sometimes many CSOs just don't understand the process. Then political sensitivity, relevant to our region as well, because in politically sensitive context, European Union may avoid confrontation with government by not amplifying critical CSO voices. that also sometimes contribute to some higher political goals. And at the end, selective inclusion, sometimes also European Union includes CSOs, few large professionalized organizations rather than involving and inviting a much broader civil society arena. And at the end, let's talk about reasons why CSO avoiding inclusion in European integrations. Some of them have strategic focus on local issues. They just simply are interested more and to put efforts and energy in solving some local pressing issues than to be involved in some a little bit alienated European integration above somewhere. Most relevant is lack of capacity or resources, because civil society organizations lack technical expertise and staff to really engage meaningfully. And for many of CSOs, unfortunately, we can see that from the field work for many years, they even lack EU literacy. They're missing to even know the basic things. That's prerequisite to be involved. And sometimes, they see whole process bureaucratic, sometimes they distrust in process, and very relevant as well, fear of repercussions by government. They have to be careful, especially in some countries in our region. They have to protect themselves from government backlash, and they are trying to avoid being labeled as foreign agents or EU puppets or something like that. So at the end, I want to mention, aside of all of these things that I already stated, that very important gap is fragmentation and competition among CSOs, because the sector is fragmented with limited cooperation among CSOs, and this weakens collective advocacy and reduce our influence. So that's from me for the beginning. I try to just flip a little bit view to interest rather than values.
I'm looking forward for the next round of questions. I'm actually curious about the questions from the audience. Now let's get to Mr. Mervaljević. We heard before from Ms. Krisper Figueroa about the 75% work that is on local authorities and communities. What is it that local authorities need in order to effectively implement policies and reforms that are related to EU accession? And what support or conditions are necessary for them to actively participate in policy deliberation?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to participate on this event. And before specific answer on your very concrete questions, I think today the enlargement package for 2025 is going to be published regarding all the countries, accession countries. And I will just make one quote, if you allow. It says, EU again emphasizes its unequivocal support to European perspective of the Western Balkan countries. Future of this region is in the European Union. And if you think that's the quote from today's enlargement package, it's not. It's 21st of June, 2003, Thessaloniki summit. 22 years away, we are still saying and praising the same sentence. Support and our future is in the European Union. Of course it is. And when we come to the percentage, and I heard it many times about the percentage of EU acquis that is going to be directly implemented on the local level. Yes, it's 70 or 75 or 2/3. And my question, and now I'm getting to the needs and the resources, what is the percentage of EU support to local governments? Is it 75%? Is it 50%? 25%? The latest driver of EU accession by the European Union is the growth plan for the West Balkans. 6 billion euros. Some loans, some grants, some budget support. What's the percentage that local governments has direct access to those 6 billion? 75%? No. So we must get to the reality, and besides the kind words, that local governments are the key players, keystones, cornerstones of utmost importance, in fact, they are, because the local government has unique capacity. On the same day, on the same time, they're policy makers on the local level and service providers to the citizens. And that is the unique role that cannot be exchanged with any other actor. No other actor, CSO, academia, business sector, doesn't have that role. And to be frank, doesn't have that kind of responsibility towards the citizens. Because, yeah, we are all going to say, and the community and the citizens are going to speak about the needs. And the needs in my local town, and I come from Montenegro, are the same as the needs of citizens of Berlin. I want quality water supply, public transport, wastewater treatment, healthy environment. The needs are the same, but are the resources to get that needs and to get problems solved the same? They're not. So we must fill the gap between what are the real needs that we all facing with, we all live somewhere, and the resources that are given to that are on disposal to the local governments to solve those problems and to cope with those challenges. And that is very different, let's say, on a different corner of the room are those two very important fields. And I would say also that the needs in terms of capacity to implement EU policies is basically what have been already identified. Human capacities, technical expertise. We know that the expert staff for the local governments is going away because of the low salaries and all the other, not just the salaries, but all the other conditions. Political changes, we are known to all the factors that have influence. So good retention policy is needed in order to not just sustain the capacity, but also to develop it and to keep it in the local communities and the local governments. Also technical expertise in terms of implementation of the bigger infrastructure projects. We ever heard about wastewater treatment plants and roads and all this digitalization, 5G, whatever is now the trend. We lack the technical capacity of the local governments to implement those policies which are very needed in the local communities. Because, as I said, even in the most remote rural area, and when we talk about the business development, the local economic development, tourism, we said it's a beautiful landscape. There are people who want to provide tourism services, but they cannot advertise on Booking because they don't have internet access. So when we come to big policies, then we go down and narrow it to the practical problems that needs to be solved. And the local governments are the first responders to those needs. Whenever you have some problem in your community, in your neighborhood, in your apartment building, you don't go to European Commission or to delegation of European Union. You go to your councillor, to your municipality, to your public enterprise to solve those problems. And from that perspective, I think that, of course, the joint effort is needed for every successful accession process of all the countries in the region, and that joint effort should be compiled of all the actors. And having this in mind, it's also important that the European Commission, although negotiating with the national governments, have the role of the local governments, as I said, the unique role in perspective, because we cannot be confused or put together with the national authorities or even with the civil society organization, because, as I said, we are not just making the policies, we are implementing them, and everyone is holding the local governments accountable for those. So if something is not solved, nobody else is guilty but the local government who didn't provide the services that people are expecting. You know, we are now living in the 21st century. Some years ago, you would say, please turn off your telephones. Put them on silent. Now you say, please bring up your telephones. So the things are changing, and the local government must get, you know, in that fast moving train to get all the European standards, I will rather say, rather than values or, you know, big sentences, rather get the European standards into the local community. And that's the best way to anchor and to embed the European values. Because for my neighborhood, European Union may be a distant, vague, in the clouds, European Commission, European values. But when I go to some European city and I say, look how good the public transport is. Look how they have a good environment protection, the river banks or whatever, greenery. I want the same standards in my neighborhood. And that is the European standard that we want to achieve. The main enabler or implementing party for those standards in the local communities in the Western Balkans are for sure the local governments. And in the end, to have quality impact on the accession process, we need to be involved and actively participate into negotiation structures. Because outside of the structures, our voice cannot be heard. And that's the message for all the actors to have the local governments involved actively, and get the ball to our yard to make proposals and to make all these projects or ideas that we see around Europe, around the European Union, that are really needed in our local communities to be implemented.
Thank you. You were giving different perspectives, local authorities, civil society organizations, the EU level, but you mentioned some key words that are common: accountability, responsibility, and trust on the other side. That's something maybe to think about, maybe even in terms of next round of our questions. So I will start with Ms. Daguda. I'm really curious to know what are your thoughts on, or actually where do you see the civil society organizations in the accession process in 3 years from now?
Okay, that's okay. Not easy to answer. I have some tiny voice coming from my left shoulder telling me, come on, Aida, don't be silly. You spoke the same 3 years ago, so you will speak the same maybe again in next 3 years on some similar conferences. But I don't want to listen that devil voice from my left shoulder, but I honestly believe that in next 3 years we will see improvement in participation of CSOs, because, it will not be drastic improvement, but it will be improvement. And I believe that the key point for me is, as you noticed this in my first part of speech, is the part of least resistance, or linija manjeg otpora. That's the common ground for all of these stakeholders. So when we all change this approach, then change will happen. And I'm really looking forward to it. It would be not easy, but all of us have a responsibility in this achieving greater involvement and meaningful involvement of civil society.
Mr. Marvaljević, where are the local authorities?
Well, as I said,
3 years, remember.
As I said, I come from Montenegro, so I see my municipality in the European Union 3 years from now. But nevertheless, speaking from the region perspective, I see really the need and to strive the process of, as I said, active participation. Because it's not just enlargement and EU acquis implementation. The local governments are not aware of the responsibilities that are going to be on the day, the morning after, what will happen when we join the EU. And NALAS is a network of Southeast Europe local government association. From the Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, our members, we saw for the local governments that gap. If they are not prepared for what's coming, the results there will be some gap after the accession process is ended. Especially, I can share one figure. Whatever money is now of EU funds available per country, when we are going to be member states, it will be 10 times more. Are we prepared? And many of those, maybe even 70%, will be implemented at the local level because it's EU regulation. Are we prepared to embrace that kind of resources? So the best time for prepare for the next 3 years is yesterday. And the second best is today. Tomorrow we are late.
Thank you. I've seen some nodding from Ms. Krisper Figueroa when Darko was talking about responsibilities. May I ask you, what is the current pre-accession support to Bosnia and Herzegovina that would actually support stakeholders, all of them, on their pathway to EU accession?
Yeah, I want, if you don't mind, I want to bring back to the question because it's very important, especially for everyone in the room. I think not specifically to concentrate on Bosnia and Herzegovina, but as you are aware, IPA, the pre-accession assistance, was in essence designed to create the structures for future implementation of cohesion and structural funds, especially IPA 1. We had a complete mirror system when Croatia was joining the European Union in order to put into place the managing authorities, the intermediate bodies, the paying authorities. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. It's basically the structures to implement quickly and swiftly and according to the EU regulation rules, a big chunk of money which comes in. And in fact, when Croatia was joining and other previous EU member states, it was very difficult because one of my head of units from Brussels, from DG Regio, came to Croatia just before the accession. He said, "You have 2 years, and you realize that tsunami is coming." And they're looking at him, tsunami of what? And it's not just tsunami of directives, it's tsunami of money, which often then municipalities don't have the capacity to implement. And and of course the structures, be it at the national level or the regional level, cannot cope either, because the rules to implement this funding, to disperse this funding, are so stringent that it's very difficult, and often many cannot meet the standard criteria in order for these investments to flow into the municipalities, so on. So what we have now, we have IPA 2 and 3, which we are still hoping have a similar effect. But in effect, we're moving away, and not just us in the pre-accession context, but also in the EU member states. We're moving towards the growth plan and the reform agenda, which means that there is one reform agenda, there is one strategy, which has specific results and is results orientated. So we no longer look at nitty-gritty projects on development, but it's really up to the country and up to the regions and municipalities to discuss together in a dialogue what the benefits should be and how the reforms should be implemented in order for the money to flow and be paid out. And in the new MFF, which we speak about at the moment, I mean, there's still a lot of discussion, so I won't mention anything. I don't know the details myself as it's being cooked. But what we heard also from our hierarchy is that there is a need for stronger coordination. We heard about fragmentation of civil society, weak coordination among municipalities, and so on. So there's a need for stronger coordination at all levels, because it's quite likely that there will be dialogue, there will be implementation of funds through one type of strategy. So this strategic approach and dialogue, I'm talking about negotiations, talking about reform agenda or negotiations, reform agenda and European acquis are very interlinked. Most of the time, this is a similar thing. So if we have voices that need to be heard and voices that can voice themselves, in effect, we encourage this, as it's been said before, and it's also a prerequisite to the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Magnusson, where would you like to see the role of cohesion policy in the accession process 3 years from now on? You said good point when Darko was talking about preparation for what's coming up?
Yeah, a lot of things were said already. I think this what my colleague said about a tsunami coming. I think it's a very good way of putting it, because the problem will not be money. You will have money. The question is how to tap into it. That's the key thing. And I think that's what we saw in Croatia when Croatia joined. That's what we saw in previous enlargements. I was working quite a lot at the time with the Baltic countries, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, but they managed to do this. And I think if you want to have good examples of this, you can look at what they have done in Poland and Lithuania, which are countries which I know are a little bit different from Bosnia and Herzegovina and here in Southeast Europe. I fully understand that, but I also know, and you also know, that it's countries with, to some extent, a little bit a similar past as you have. So there will be lots of money, and when you become a member of the European Union, to tap into all these programs that we have. Yeah, we have a new MFF, we have new proposal for how this will look like, but there will still be programs, you can be sure about that. There will still be loads of money. And then the question is how can one, for example, at local level, as you said, in Montenegro, if you now are lucky and you will be able to join the European Union very soon, how do we do this? I can tell you, the country I come from, Sweden, I know it's a bit different again, but I don't know how many delegations from Swedish local authorities we had in Brussels at the time, speaking to people, trying to understand what to do, trying to understand, the kind of mechanics of all this, the practical things, because you need to know that you will be, in my opinion, one of the key delivery, delivery people, delivery organizations for this EU. I mean, a lot of this, we talk about social issues, we talk about business development, we talk about, God knows whatever it is. All of these things in very many countries are delivered by the local authorities. So you need to have the capacity to do that. And this is a big challenge for sure. And from our side, we will, of course, then, as I said before, we will check this. We have rules for this. For us, it's very important then that this is done, in a participative manner. And we want to include, I want to repeat this, we want to include also civil society in this process. And we have also all kinds of other programs for that. I mentioned before local development, all these kinds of funding streams we have, which are really targeted to the inclusion of local development and civil society. So it's all there, but you need to find the skills for this, and that is a process, and it can take a long time. But look at what they have done in Poland. I was in Poland last week, so I know what I'm talking about. They made it. If they can make it, you can make it.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for our participants to join the conversation. I would like to ask Andreea to take it from here now. So it's time for your questions and for our panelists to answer. So, the first of the questions is for Ms. Daguda. Why are CSOs fragmented and not collaborating to advocate for their causes?
Well, difficult question go to me. I believe it's not simple answer. It's a mixture of different reasons. So one of them is, we see each other as competition to the funds, And we know that especially this year was very difficult for our sector across the region and even wider because of changes in donor communities. So even some already signed agreements are terminated. Some donors decide suddenly to change their priorities. So it's really difficult to work in this environment. And plus, it's difficult, to think about strategic partnership, about EU integration processes when you are struggling for survival. So that's one very important issue in our sector. And the other one is, unfortunately, we are not immune to ego trips. So oh, my organization is important, I don't want to cooperate with this one, I remember when they told me something, but I believe that we need to change that as soon as possible, because I see this as collective effort, and plus I have to mention my favorite term, it's local ownership. European integrations have to become our local ownership. We have to own it. We as civil society, we as a local government, as business sector, as local communities. That's very important switch in our heads, because right now we see it like, it's good to be involved. There's some money there, but we are not truly inside of that, I know that Montenegro is a few steps ahead, and that Bosnia and Herzegovina is lagging behind. But I think that's also good, because we can use experience from other countries. I think that we have to look also how CSOs in Serbia find a way to do it together, how to, so for me, that's also opportunity. So we are lagging behind, but there are opportunity, and it's up to us. We have to think how we're thinking on other CSOs.
Thank you. Next question is, okay, where was I? Yeah, for Mr. Magnusson. Can local authorities expect increased financial support in the future, given their role in the EU negotiation process?
Yeah, I was touching about, I think that issue in my previous intervention. Certainly, as a member of the European Union, there will be a lot of funding available for local authorities. That is what I said. The issue is not so much whether there will be funding or not. There will be a lot of funding, but the question is how to tap into it. For the for the process now, in terms of when you are in the negotiation process, I think I would leave that question to my colleague over here, because I work more, with the policy once you are a member of the EU. But that I can certainly say that there will be a lot of funding available. It's not so much that which is the issue. The issue is how to tap into it. But then obviously also, and that's something I want to say, if we look at cohesion policy, there are various ways to deliver this. You have countries which are regionalized. When you have regional programs, you have countries which are more which are smaller very often and have this at the national level. And then it's obviously for the national authorities and the regional authorities to involve properly local authorities in the process and to make sure that they are, that they also get the funding that they should have in this. But from the policy point of view, for sure, it's very important, because how can you deliver all the things you will have to deliver at local level if you don't have the money?
To Mojca.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just to complement, I only know a few pre-accession countries, so forgive me, like if I speak generally. Maybe some of you come from pre-accession countries which don't have these programs, but usually there is support for so-called programs like EU for municipalities are often called, which are programs that enable peer-to-peer exchange, capacity building, as well as some smaller socioeconomic projects and programs for development. Then, of course, everyone is aware of the cross-border cooperation programs, mirroring Interreg or other cross-border cooperation programs, which are in effect programs part of structural funds that are enabling environment for socioeconomic development across the borders and regions. And then And then for CSOs, I will mention because I've seen there's so many CSOs here present. There is usually the horizontal CSO facility, which is implemented by DG NS, the Directorate in Brussels, which has a regional program enabling this coordination and consortium building of CSOs in Western Balkans and neighborhood countries, which is very, I think, valuable in terms of projects. And then we have bilateral envelopes under the same program. So for Bosnia and Herzegovina this year, we will have a big call before Christmas of around 6.9 million euros. So I don't think that's an undermining amount. As for the question to Aida in terms of, competition, we are fragmented. I would say, in fact, we heard this, and in the next call for proposals, we really wish to encourage bigger consortium and partnerships. And I think bringing together as many CSOs as possible on a one project and a larger project makes more sense. And as for negotiations, I think fragmentation, yes, fragmentation, but at the same time, specialization in terms of clustering into chapters, into sectors, is also very important. Thank you.
I would just like to add one thing that, because there is one question for you, in addition to that, can the EU in BIH increase support for local authorities given the dysfunction of the central government?
Okay. All right, thank you very much. No, we will. Actually, I've already mentioned it also to Directorate of European Integration. Where are they, my colleagues? That in the next DIPA 25-27, we are hoping to put funding aside just for municipalities, and this would be a special program, and it doesn't require any attention at the, let's say, country level, BIH level. So yeah, more, I mean, this is in the making. I cannot promise anything. It's in the making. But it is something we're planning to have in the next 2-3 years, definitely, yeah.
Okay, thank you. One question for Ms. Daguda. How will Bosnia and Herzegovina strategy for civil society development will help in the real life of the civil society organizations? And there is another question. So if there's someone else maybe who wants to reply as well. How are the CSOs supposed to get the resources to improve coordination sufficiently?
Okay, as for the strategy, that's really good thing that happened in Bosnia and Herzegovina recently, because we waited for so many years for that strategy to happen. It's on state level, and it was really developed in a consultative process with different CSOs. And I believe it would be important only in case it is implemented, because, we already have experience that many things are adopted but not implemented, but we have a specific action plan for the strategy. And I believe that many things would be implemented in next year to come. I know that one European program will be directed and support that. So I believe some other donors as well. And I hope that would change something. But as I said, this is state level because our country is complex. So many other levels where different legislation is affecting CSOs has to be solved in future, hope near future. And the other question was about resources for...
How are CSOs supposed to get the resources to improve coordination sufficiently?
Yeah, it's difficult because, from our experience of our organization and some others, we are involved in EU integration processes a lot, but we don't have funding for that, We use our own resources for that, So somehow funding available is for very specific topics, but there is no some special financing that help us to do this important thing, to coordinate better, to organize better, and especially what is very important, to improve enabling environment for civil society. Because we don't have enabling environment. We have monitoring matrix that through Balkan Civil Society Development Network, we are monitoring for years in whole region situation. So, we need to pay attention to that. We shouldn't forget enabling environment.
Okay, questions keep coming up, but we do have time for them. I saw one question for Darko. How do you see the potential for municipalities to work with local caring communities to offer better care for old people in rural areas?
Well, I must say the responsibility of the local governments is, of course, to care about, let's say, about all citizens, but special vulnerable groups we saw across the region are those in the rural areas. And I think that there is no one solution for all. And the tailor-made approach is quite needed. When we have the specific rural communities, mostly consisting of old people, mostly old people, and we need to create, and I was mentioning the local economic development as one driver of the fighting against the population of the rural area. So the rural area in our site is some remote village in the wood, but rural area for me is a healthy air, a good environment, and the rural area doesn't mean that it doesn't have a water supply, road access, 5G network, or all the other enabling framework for the people to live in, as I said, with the same standard or similar standard to those who are in the urban areas. It's a global trend, the rural-urban interplay, let's say, and there are many of also the EU-funded programs that can support municipalities in tackling these issues within the local communities. One more very specific, and I think not yet implemented, but still to be, is it was mentioned, the leader approach. So the small development strategies for the local community on a level of local communities. In the Western Balkan region, we call it mjesne zajednice. So on that level, very specific local level, not even the level of municipality. So that is a good tool for the creation of such a leader approach to local action groups and to small, let's say, territorially small, but very important community-based strategies and the resources to implement those strategies. And that is the link that is existing, not yet implemented, but is existing, and one part of the implementation of that kind of local action groups and leader approach, the local development strategies are the local governments. And just the final half sentence, the leader approach is imposing the inclusion of civil society, business sector, and local government. So it's a must. And that is also one tool for this connections and coordination within the local communities.
Thank you. How to exercise more influence on this level to push for CSO involvement in the future enlargement process? Yes, please.
Yeah, I wanted to add, even if not asked, but this is a good question for that. I think it's important when we say involvement of civil society in European integrations, it's important to mention we should not think only about civil society organizations, but much larger. It has to be involved employers associations, unions. We have to have academic sector very much involved, because right now that's not the case. We are all working on some different clouds, but if we want to increase influence, then we have to connect and organize and go together in this. I think that's missing link and very important one.
What would be the most important changes, both in administration and communities, to improve absorption capacities for funding? It's not directed to anyone specifically, so whoever feels?
Well, just to say that within the NALAS, as I said, as an organization, we have the EU Project Managers Network, and some of the EU-funded programs, EU for municipalities across the region, I mean, maybe not with the same name, but are fostering the networks of municipal project managers who have practical experience with EU funds. But mostly those people, I wouldn't say structures, are not differentiate from other tasks and duties within the local governments. And they are under much pressure, and most of them after a few years is leaving the local governments, meaning that they have much responsibility and don't have the institutional framework for the work to be done. It will be the gap that will be even more increasing when we come closer to the full membership of the EU. So yes, we need the human resources in order to embrace all the funding opportunities that there are many. So I'm not speaking there are no money, there is money, even now. But some of the programs are not specifically for the local governments. And you have the regional horizontal initiative, civil society facility, Berlin process, Regional School for Public Administration, REGIO. You have many of them who are tackling youth, CSOs, national governments here and there, but none of the regional initiative in that kind, in that scale, is supporting the local governments, and I think that is much needed in order to get this succession process successful.
Mr. Magnusson also wanted to add something, so we can. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I will come on that point, but just one thing you said before. Yeah, yes, I think it's very important to agree with that. That I mean, obviously we need to include civil society, but there are also other groups we need to include here. And as I said in my introductory speech, there are a number of now I talk about the macro regional strategies, but I thought let's talk about cohesion policy in general. I mean, we need to have a proper partnership first of all. So we need to have civil society, we need to have the local authorities properly involved, we need to have business, academia, the business organizations, clusters, whatever they have, all these have to be included. And it's only, when you do that, when all these kind of interests are there, that it will work. Some will then, of course, say, yeah, but it's very complicated to do. There will be loads of discussions. There will be loads of conflicts. Yeah, it's a process. Huh? And I'm afraid that's a process you will have to go through. And of course, not everyone will agree on everything, because that's normal. But that's also, we are in a democratic environment, and we have to take that discussion, because I know that good things will come out of it, and that's a process. That's important. I want then to go back on what you said here from the local authority perspective and how we build up capacity. Yes, I've seen that in many countries that are now members of the EU. So at local authority level, they have, smaller municipalities have at least one person, who is the kind of EU expert sort of, thing there. Bigger municipalities, they may have a whole kind of, department working on these kinds of things. And that you need to have. You need to have that in order to be able to work with these issues. But then, of course, the question comes in, how to make this attractive. Good people leave. You know how it is when someone has learned the things, then the person leaves, because the person is so attractive of the job market that, the person will be taken by someone else. And that's, face the reality. But that's also why it is important that local authorities also have the resources so that they can also pay people properly and retain the knowledge, because I know this is a challenge here and also in other parts, I think, of Southeast Europe. So that's something that we have to work with. But the competence needs to be there. It's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, the local authority will not be able to, again, tap into these resources. Because I say it for the third time now, I think fourth time, money will be there, but the question is how you need to bring it to your local authority.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Because our organization has accredited Center for Education, and we have Academy of Writing Proposals for the EU, and we cooperate with the local governments. And what we have noticed that it doesn't matter if some municipality is stronger, bigger, have bigger budget. It's important who leads and which vision leader of the local community mayor usually has. Because we have example of Kakanj municipality, it's small one, but their mayor, he has a vision, and he building inside capacities in municipalities of people who work there in this area of managing EU project, writing EU projects, you know. And we have to, I don't know, not we, but local municipalities, local government has to understand there is time for innovative approach to this. You know, we cannot work like 15 years ago in this moment. So we have to quickly work, and I think with leaders of local governments, because they direct that struggle for more knowledge and capacities. Otherwise, will not happen.
Mojca, you wanted to add something? Or?
Yeah, no, as I mentioned previously, IPA was designed, you know, as a prerequisite to enable structures, especially at the national country level, for implementation of structural funds. When I was talking about the different bodies of IPA regulation, which mirror, in fact, structural funds regulation. So this is like the pre-exercise of when you become an EU member state. But of course, what is the key? I mean, the key is Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy. We've talked a lot about municipalities and CSOs. So just at the country level, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of European Integration. If you have strong 3 or 4 ministries that lead the process, and then at the same time you have good checks and balances with an audit authority when it comes to spending the money, I think that's the key in terms of ensuring that the money can really be absorbed at the country level and distributed to municipalities, CSOs, and other actors. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions keep coming up, so maybe some are related to something we said before, but so I will just keep reading them as they come in. Would it help municipalities in accession countries to exchange with the Committee of the Regions or other associations of municipalities for their preparation? I see some nodding, but is there anyone who wants to answer?
Well, the candidate, but let's face it, we must strengthen that cooperation and the exchange and provide the resources for the exchange. Having 2 meetings per year, 1 day or 1.5 days is not the framework for a fruitful and meaningful exchange. And of course, the experiences of the EU peers for the local governments in the candidate countries is crucial to understand the process. Because, you know, when you tell the mayor, okay, now we need to have single market, who knows what does it mean for the mayor, for the inhabitants, or some chapter this, chapter that. So this concrete lessons learned, and I would say not just the best practices, but also, you know, the worst case scenarios to be faced with and to be prepared. Because one day it will be some political decision from next year, next month, you are in the EU, and then we will have all the money available, all the standards that we need to implement, and with no resources, knowledge, or capacity to do it, even with all the willingness that there is there, but that will be gaps. So these exchanges must be even strengthened, and that they can be very, very fruitful.
Keep your microphone on. Associations of municipalities are formally CSOs. Is that good or bad in terms of getting support and support they can give to local governments? This was directed to you.
Well, no, mainly they are CSOs. In some countries, they are established by the law on the local self-government, for example, in Montenegro. But it doesn't matter the legal status of one organization, especially the local government association. What it means is what services, what capacity, what resources it brings to its member. So enabling municipalities to get bigger experience and to get capacity, and also advocacy, which is one of the main role of the local government associations, is advocacy vis-a-vis national government and international institutions. So in that terms, the legal status, I don't think it's of that importance, but the strength of the association, the technical capacity through its working groups, technical committees in each of the areas to support municipalities in bringing these policy changes, especially when there are some changes of law, some new competencies, decentralization, which is mainly functioning as decentralization of responsibilities and not decentralization of resources. That is the role of the local government association as advocacy tool for the local governments towards mainly the national government.
Thank you. Mr. Magnusson?
Just to follow on this theme, I think basically all exchange of experience you can have, be it Committee of the Regions, or be it the Economic and Social Committee of the European Union, they work a lot with inclusion of civil society, for example, or be it the European Parliament, or be it other, pan-European organizations that work with local, regional level, can only be good. So, with other words, it's good to experience, from colleagues which work in the same level as you, with the same kinds of things like you, what works, and also very important, what does not work, as you said. Bad examples also very, very useful, so that you don't, kind of fall in the same traps that other people have been doing. So I can only, encourage this exchange of experience. I'm very much in favor of that, as you can hear.
Okay. Yes.
Just one sentence for all the participants who are coming from the local governments. There is existing instrument TAEX, called TAEX, which is open to the local governments since a year or two ago. And it's very useful, and it has been used by the local governments and by the local government associations. And also, many years ago, there was one EU initiative called the Local Administration Facility, which was also enabler of exchanges and bringing people from the region to face and to witness the EU institutions in Brussels and to exchange with its peers on implementation of the EU policies.
Someone said, Darko, as a European citizen, I'm concerned that the candidate countries seem to focus more on economic standards than on the values of the European Union. Hot chair.
Hello. Originally I wrote that the local governments are key to anchor the EU values and EU standards. And I give emphasis to EU standards, and that is related to the economic development also. But we must face also that in the countries of the European Union, there are challenges, political or all the other, that we have witnessed in the region. So these challenges are, as I said, the needs are the same, but I think also the challenges are pretty similar on a bigger or smaller scale. So if you have some, some events, some challenges that we are thinking it's only related to the Western Balkans, it's not. You just get the Euro news on and you will see it's happening all around Europe. So same needs, same challenges, but we need to have the joint effort to cope with those challenges on every inch of the European continent, not just European Union.
One question for Mr. Magnusson and Ms. Krisper Figueroa. How do CSOs improve and demonstrate EU competence? How do civil society organizations improve and demonstrate EU competence? Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a go. But whoever asked that, if I'm answering something wrong, please let me know. Don't be embarrassed. Raise your hand and shout. For instance, CSOs are real, as I mentioned in my first introduction, and Aida mentioned it as watchdogs. I think one of the key principles are the fundamentals of democracy and rule of law. And I'll give you an example of fighting corruption. So if a CSO is voiced itself and it's a whistleblower, and there can be, for that reason, better measures put into place at country level or at the local level on anti-corruption. And I believe that would have a direct influence onto socio-economic development. Why? Because by saving money, we invest money. So these are like small steps. We were mentioning fundamentals. I think you've also raised that fundamentals are really also prerequisites for development. So if we have CSOs who can tackle these issues on fundamentals, this is quite crucial. Thank you.
Thank you. Considering the future of the Danube region strategy, how much support and importance is given to improvement of participation of youth on every level? I'm turning slightly to the rows in front.
I think that is a question I cannot resist. As you know, I give you. No, because this is important, because we are here in the framework of the Danube strategy and the annual forum for the Danube strategy. That's what we are doing here today. We have, as you know, in the Danube strategy, been working with including young people for a couple of years now. Actually, we have two bodies for this. We have the Danube Youth Forum, as I think many of you know very well. I see people here in the audience who know that much better than I, and who will probably be better placed even than I to explain what this is. But this is obviously a very important, body to include young people, not only in general terms in the Danube strategy, but also in the governance structure of the strategy, because that is what we need to have. And as I say, in collaborative decision making, I think that's the whole point. So that is an organization, that's a body that's already there. And then we also have, in addition to that, we have another body that organizes youth organizations in the Danube region, that is also up and working. And these two bodies, they work together to include young people in the strategy. For us, in the European Commission, this is very, very, very important, because the inclusion of young people is a European political priority. It is, as you know, something that the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has taken as an initiative a couple of years ago. And that is something that we would like to see all, initiatives, policies in the EU. We want to see that all of them cover and take this up. And that is certainly here the case also in the Danube strategy. So to reply to the question more concretely, we would like to see that these two bodies, DYON and DYC, that's the acronyms, that they continue their work and are strengthening even their work and are continue to do the great job that they are doing.
Yes, of course.
It's not this last question, but before that, about how CSOs can show EU competencies. I believe, I keep mentioning that whenever I can, it would be really good, the civil society organization much more be involved in different consultations processes. So whenever European Union invite CSOs for consultations, or maybe our Directorate for European Integration Ministries, it's important that we participate. I was really present at many times on consultation processes when people came from Brussels, asked opinion of civil society in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and out of 25 people in the room, maybe 5 or 6 say something, other don't, So for me, that's indicator that we don't have that capacity and we don't have that contribution. So I would like, and I invite all CSOs and other actors, civil society, to be really actively involved in consultations.
Thank you. Yes?
I mean, Claudia, I cannot stop myself. Sorry for because you inspired me now. I must say this, and it is about when the country I come from myself, Sweden, joined the EU, and it was quite many years ago, 25 years ago or something. But this, applies to this is something that applies in general terms, I think. So Sweden became a member of the EU. And then the Swedish authorities, regional authorities, had to draft regional development programs. They were in the same situation. We talked about that before. Suddenly they got loads of money from the EU. They didn't really know what to do with because they had not prepared themselves properly. Because for political reasons in Sweden, they were not allowed to prepare themselves properly. Because we had a referendum and no one knew whether they would say yes or no. And therefore the government had said, no, you cannot prepare anything until we have a result in the referendum. Then we had a referendum, it was a yes, we joined the EU quickly, and no one was really prepared. Then the regional authorities had very, very quickly to draft these regional programs. And there was, of course, a consultation process, because it needs to be a consultation process when you do this. And there were several, I was working at regional level at the time, so we had several big meetings, a bit like we are sitting here today in a big room with, hundreds of people or something like that. And we had, there were lots of people from public administration. They were still, relatively well prepared. But then we had also invited civil society, business, academia, everyone. And basically none of them said anything. And we were sitting there, like, but okay, we have a partnership here. We want to hear your opinion. And there was silence. So I think that is why I take very much your point. It's very important to be prepared and to take the opportunity that you now have and that you are now given.
This was resolute with the microphone turning off. How can EUSDR support CSOs better in the process of EU enlargement? Maybe something to think about for later.
You wanted to talk again?
Yes, of course.
So the question was about how the Danube strategy
yes,
can. I think the Danube strategy is already supporting a lot civil society to be included in this, and there are very many things going on in the strategy to include civil society. So I wouldn't say that nothing is happening, because it's not true. But again, this is a process where several levels are involved. We all have roles to play. We have the presidency of the strategy. We have the national level with the national coordinators, and we have the thematic coordinators in the strategy, the priority area coordinators. And I know that they are doing a lot to involve civil society in various ways, and also young people, by the way. So here I think it's more a question of using the opportunities we have and to make your voice heard and to profit from what is already there.
Okay, we have one question unanswered from like more than half an hour ago, and I apologize for that, but they just keep coming up and it's not in right order, in chronological order. So I think this is related to something some of the speakers mentioned. Even though it is a political decision, how much do you think this process is influenced by the very lack of predictability regarding EU accession? So can anyone think of the process someone mentioning? So even though it is a political decision, how much do you think this process so it was something that was mentioned probably, is influenced by the very lack of predictability regarding EU accession. Regarding EU accession. Maybe it will be an opportunity during the lunch break to discuss this question or something. Sorry, we had two of the questions left. Question to activity in local community and not government organization is to have activity promotion reform law and rule to say minimum law and rule EU. More like a statement or something. So sorry if I'm not right there. And I have seen something else. I think it was something about Darko mentioned before, the tax program, European Commission. So it is actually a constatation that that program is for professional to high expert, is to open point to reform in given instruction to Brussels, two side, must have profession. That's what is written.
Well, my practical experience with the latest tax iteration, so it has several ways of conducting tax missions. So it can be missions from the practitioners from the EU to the Western Balkans. And when I say practitioners or experts, it means practitioners, in our case, from the local governments. So experts who are working into local governments come to our country and say, you know about digitalization of public services, we done it like that in Novo Mesto in Slovenia. Then we discuss how we can implement those practices. Also, the study tours can be follow up when we go from the Balkans to the EU countries, in our case, to the municipalities, and to see how things are functioning. Lessons learned, best cases, worst, some lessons learned, etc. So it's not related to profession as such, but the theme or the subject of the interest of someone who is applying for tax, in our case, the local government or the local government associations.
Thank you. One more question left. How can the Council of Europe democratic tools for local authorities and citizen participation be implemented with EU funding?
That's a tough one. Because I haven't had much experience working with this. We worked with Council of Europe a lot, but not on this subject. But absolutely, Council of Europe principles and European Union principles for good governance tend to be aligned. So, what can I say? If they're working, if they have a project that has the similar objective, so enabling good governance principles within local administration.
If I may add, the Council of Europe has the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities, the local governments and their association from our countries are the members. So, and also there is one important document that is called the European Charter of the Local Self-Governance. And I don't think that those monitoring reports on the implementation of that charter into the countries of the Western Balkans is appreciated or acknowledged. Because in those reports, even the European Commission and our national authorities can see the shortcomings in implementation of the European Charter, which has been signed by the countries. So that is also one resource to identify the gaps or the needs that should be filled in.
So, thank you to our speakers, our panelists. Thank you to all of you who contributed with your questions and insights. It's time to close this panel. Once again, thank you. It was really engaging. And before we continue, I would... okay, sorry. I would like to take a moment to thank to all our participants who joined us online. We hope you enjoyed today's sessions and we look forward to connecting with you again at future events. Thank you and farewell for now. Now, I'm excited actually to introduce the Agora space, which you can see from both of our sides. Okay, there's a new list. Oh, good. Okay. The Agora is our interactive area where you can explore projects, connect with peers, and exchange ideas. So please take the opportunity during the lunch break to visit the Agora, to ask the questions, to engage directly with our participants and project teams. I have a list of initiatives and project taking part, so now I will introduce them to you to make it easier later to connect the dots, the initiatives and the people behind them. So I would ask, while reading the list, the presenters to either stand up or to raise their hand while their project is called, so that people can see you. Thank you. And I apologize if I mispronounce something. Okay, so the project list Agora. Agritech project organization is Project Consulting and Management Experts Association, PAMEA. Representative is Daniela Marie. It's someone here? Yes, okay. It's good to have you. No, that's all. Just to see you. Next project, Culture Transforming Communities and Economies, CAST. Organization is Urba Sofia. Alexandra Zlotea, the one who presenting. Hi. Democracy and You, Foster Europe. Representatives, Stefan Lütgenau and Anna Maczynska. Anna is somewhere in the back, yeah. From organizations called HIGIA. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it well. There are two projects they are presenting, Eurobridge UAMD and Manufact Energy. Cyprian Morgan, did I pronounce it right? Okay. Next two projects, FRY, from Resistance to European Integration, and promoting the recognition of women's achievements. Organizations is from Romania, Ana Zlibut representing it, thank you. Organization called Research Center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts. Jani Kozina will be representing it, and the project is improving the position of women in the labor markets of peripheral industrial regions. Thank you. Lisa Wolf from the World Wide Fund for Nature in Austria. Hi, the project is called Life Restore for Mura, Drava and Danube. Then we have the Mother Centers International Network for Empowerment. The same name wears the project. Andreea Lo and Rachel Kastelberg are presenting it. Hello. Oh, now that's good to see. Mystical Danube, name of the project. Representative is Matej Mikulic, and the organization is Zadar County Rural Development Agency. Okay. Thank you. Now, we also have from Urba Sofia organizations that we mentioned before, Ana Dragomir and the project called the NONA, New Governance for New Spaces. Hi. Now from the, just a second, because I have two lists, sorry. From the Institute for Development and EU Integration, IREI, Mrs. Zemina Vukovic. Okay, she's not in the room, and the project is called Stronger Civil Society in the Region, Faster Development and EU Accession. And we have from Agapedia in Germany, Stefan Barth, representing the project called the Danube Youth Organizations Network. Actually, it's a network, not a project, but so there's another thing to see and visit during the Agora. Thank to all the participants. You will have, like I said, he was in the back, yes, he wait. So, what do we have left? Yes, to wrap up the agenda so far, before leaving for the Agora and the lunch, I would ask all of you to join us here in front of the stage or on the stage, or maybe here before this video wall, because we would like to capture this day and this event with the family picture of all participants, speakers and organizers. So come for the picture, then we will let you wander around the Agora and have the opportunity to meet each other. We will be back here 1:30 for the World Cafe sessions. Thank you.